I'm Karen Campbell. Welcome back to my mixed media channel where I try to make art as easy as possible so that we all can have more fun together while we do it. All right, I'm doing a watercolor series currently to specifically celebrate the launch of book 3 in my Whimsical Watercolor and How to Draw series. Wonky Woofers just came out just a little bit over a week ago. And to celebrate, I'm having a giveaway, which I posted last week. So I'm going to be announcing the winner at the end of this video. But in this video, I also want to really break down my process for you of how to create shading and highlights even on your silly Willy cartoons, because even a cartoon deserves some epic shading and some epic highlights. And I want to show you my entire process today as well. And then yes, the winner of the 9 professional watercolor brushes by Paulina Brights and this very signed book will be mailed to one lucky person. Last week's video, not only did I show you a flip through, but I also I wanted a poll, and that was how you had to enter the giveaway of what my book 5 is going to be on. So book 1 was Widow Women. Book 2, Wacky Whiskers. Book 3, Wonky Woofers. 4 is Wily Winnies, aka Horses and Barnyard Besties. So Widow, Wacky, and Wonky and Wily were all taken already. I'm sorry for everyone who used those words again. I'm so sorry I couldn't take your suggestions, but I got plenty of other suggestions and I made a huge document where I added all of them to the list. And the winner of the vote for book 5 was Wildlife, but only by 40 votes out of over 1,000, which is crazy. So it was tight. And just to be clear, I am doing both Wigwams and Wildlife. It was just simply the order you wanted me to do them in next that I was trying to find out so I could know and start assembling references and getting all inspired. So Wigwams will also be coming just after Wildlife. And also to clarify, I'm doing more than one wildlife one because there's like African animals, there's rainforest wildlife. So don't worry, there's many more books in this series to come. So let's make this little guy. I'm going to go through my entire process, like I said, adding some shading with watercolor and my special blending tool, as well as adding highlights. Let's go. Winner at the end. And thank you so much for participating. Oh, and I need a name for this guy. I really do read your suggestions and I do choose your names that you suggest and put them in the books. So please let me know in the comments a good name for my little barnyard pig. All right, let's watercolor. So I thought it'd be fun to go through the entire process of coloring this guy in today with some watercolors and then really showing you my step-by-step process, but I also want to show you specifically the end where we apply the highlights, because I think the highlights for me personally pack the biggest punch. They're super satisfying. So I'll walk you through my process of where those go as well. So I'm using this Decadent Pie set by Prima. In all of the books, I'm using Prima sets just to make it easy because I have them all. And if you're following along the books, you know exactly what I'm using for all of them. So yeah, just makes it easy for you too, hopefully. All right, I have my Paulina Bright size 0 brush. I have some paper towels here, and then my swatches here, this is like a long skinny watercolor book, and so I keep all my swatches in here so it's easy. And then here are my colors right here. So the first step I usually do is I just do like a base coat all over. So for this, I'm just getting color everywhere. And then I will do a scan after that, and that will go in the book. And then I will come back and I will do the kind of the leveling up, as I like to call it. So this is Guava Meringue. This is the weirdest set, and I think I use it the most of all of them, which is even weirder. It's a very random selection of a lot of neutrally warms, and then a random green out of nowhere, which I absolutely love this color. Actually, you can just get lazy and color right over the eyebrows. So we're basically just filling in all the empty spaces at this point. Our base color, nothing crazy difficult. about any of this. I did a whole video on like exactly how to do the water and when to use your paper towels. In case you want me to slow down and go over that, I have a whole video dedicated to just water to brush to paint ratio. You can check out. I'll link it in the description box for you. All right, so I'm just, again, filling in all the empty spaces. I never used this guava meringue first though, but I mean, he's a pink and it's the most perfect pink color ever. So why not? So I'm doing his whole kind of base coat in this guava meringue. And this nose is gonna be a little bit darker, so I'm going to do that a separate color. What I love about these, all of the books that I've been creating, is just how quick and easy all of it is. I really wanted to make these books for people who are scared of watercolor because it just gets such a bad rap, and I really wanted to dedicate an entire series of books to being like, hey, you know what? It's actually okay. See how sloppy and quickly I'm moving? That's for real. You can be very sloppy and quick. I don't even have a side palette going. I just use my palette. I go right from my palette right to my paper. It doesn't really get any more complicated than that, and you can create a lot of fun creations just using watercolors in a very sloppy, messy, and quick way. And that is exactly why I wanted to make this whole book series, was to show you like, hey, you don't have to be like a serious artist. You really don't, to enjoy watercolor. All right, so that was the whole background I did in guava meringue. I'm going to do his eyes, this blueberry. And I am so lazy, I don't even watercolor, or I don't even fill in the black of the pupils yet. Just getting this filled in first. I use Molotow fine liners for the outlines so they don't smear. And then while I have blue out, I'm going to do just a quick wash. Now, if the first color, that guava meringue, is still wet, you just need to be careful, because the watercolors go where the water is. So if they're too wet and they both touch each other, they're going to intermingle, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep them separated from each other, so just make sure you don't bonk into each other. And see, super messy, whatever, light mode. Okay, so we have that done. Now what do we need to do? So I'm going to do the inside of the ears a little darker. So I'm going to use the apple color. And of course this will be all in the books. He will be in my next book, which is all about barnyard animals. So this is the apple, and again, this is just one. This is coat one, and then I will scan this, and you'll see that in the book as figure 5. And then the final figure is when it's done, and I'll show you that whole process too. And I also want this snoot to be darker as well. That way it will look like it's coming towards us a little bit. So just being careful I don't touch the blue of the nose so they don't run together. Okay, and anything else? Let's see, while I'm here, I can do the eyebrows a little bit darker, so I'm going to use Pecan, which is this really dark, like a dark brown. I think my first layer is dry. Oh, it better be. If you want to layer, just make sure your layers are dry, and then they won't talk to each other. If they're all wet, it'll just be a big mess. Okay, So that's it for the whole layer of one. So I'm gonna go scan this super quick and I'll be back and we'll do the second coat and we'll do all of our leveling up. Yay! All right, it's time to do the leveling up part, which is my favorite. So in all of the books, the steps are the same. Just you go through the drawing in simple steps. So that's figures 1 through 3. And then figure 4, we redraw the final drawing. And you can use like a window or a light table to go from figure 3 to 4. And make sure your outline is in those permanent fine liners. And then figure 5 is what we just did with our pig. And then the final is what I could just call leveling up. So this is when you adding the shading and the details and the more colors and all of the things. So that's where we are at with our great little pig who doesn't have a name yet. If you have suggestions, please let me know in the comments. I usually do a lot of the names that are suggested because, yeah, I've done a lot of characters. It's hard to come up with so many names. All right, so now I'm doing, so leveling up is usually deepening of color. So that's either doing the same color again or doing a darker color, and I'm gonna do a darker color. So this was apple on his nose, and I'm gonna put some apple around his body. And then I'm gonna go in with the pecan next to make them even darker. So here is the apple, and I can do a second coat inside the ears. So there's a couple different ways to make your watercolors darker. You can either do a second coat, you can do a second more concentrated coats. I do all my concentrations the same to keep it really easy and straightforward. And I'm gonna add a little bit of darker on the, like around this extra eye area. I don't even know what you would call it. Just the eye area here and here. And then, let's see, coming around here. On the left side of his nose. So believe it or not, even cartoons can have shading and highlights, right? Just as seriously as a Mona Lisa portrait. So in this case, like I'm gonna leave the right side to be more lighter than the left side. That way too, when I'm adding the shadows and things, it's a lot more straightforward about where everything goes. And I'm gonna have down here be a little darker too. So there's shading underneath. I know, it's just, we're very legit. I'm gonna come around here, have the darker side be around the left. And it really will make an impact, I promise you. So just because you're doing cartoons doesn't mean you can't take yourself seriously as an artist. Okay, so we're doing a darker color here. We do a darker color along the left side of this little army arm. Another way that I like to add darker colors is I will just do some shading with my Blackwing pencil, and I'll show you that as well. It's so easy and it's so fast. That's another thing. I am like really impatient. So I like everything to be done as fast and easily as possible. And I'm not sorry. I don't fuss. I don't futz. I just go. And I think that's a valid form of art making. Gosh darn it. Everything doesn't have to be serious. Lord knows there is enough serious things going on right now. So stressful. My art is not. I refuse to make my art one of those serious, horrible things. We are just having fun. I'm making a cartoon pig and I'm not sorry. Adding some darker areas on the ears. And I'm sloppy and I'm messy. And you know what? It's going to be awesome in the end. All right, so that is one way to get darker, but I think we can go darker still. Okay, so this is all about the leveling up. So pecan is the darkest color. I haven't used it yet, so I'm gonna go in and do a little bit more with that as well. But I need to let those dry, so I'll just add a little bit more decoration to his onesie, which is hilarious. I didn't quite even let that sit in. So I could use some darker polka dots. I could use the blackberry for sure, or I could do blueberry again. So it's just up to you. I will do blueberry. Like these ridiculously adorable polka dots. So again, you can do a darker layer or you can do the same color. Oh, again, I'm so excited to pick a giveaway winner. I have yet to pick. I'm going to do it with you in quote unquote real time, so it's not bugged. This onesie makes no sense, but this whole pig makes no sense. Oh my goodness, he is so cute already. And you can even level up the eyes. You could put some different colors in there. So I could add another coat of the blue. You can get sophisticated for our little piggy pig. All right, if these areas are not dry yet, which mine don't feel, just shoot them with your hair dryer really quick, and then before you add the next layer. All right, I just dried him with my hair dryer so I could make sure I could move on to the next step. So I'm doing the super dark one now. So this is Pecan. I'm gonna add, just swipe this on the inside of his ear. And another one here. And how about his little eyebrows again? Darken up those. And we can put some edges of his eyes here and here. And let's see, we can swipe around the left. And if you need to blend it in to the colors that are there before, just take your wet edge, just water, and that will help smear that around. And remember, we said the light source is going to be going this way, which means things on the left side are going to be a little bit darker. So I'm just going to swish this around here, messily, like truly. And also under the neck. Now I know this because I do so many faces. I'm obsessed with drawing and coloring faces. I know that from all human portraits, this area under the neck is super dark, which is hilarious that it would come from very serious portraiture. No, I'm not. Nothing I do is serious ever, really. But a serious number of portraitures, we'll put it that way. All right, so this is, hopefully you can see by going, just systematically going darker and darker, leaving some areas lighter, is a very powerful way to make this little piggy stand out. All right, and I'm gonna dry this again before moving on to the next step. All right, now this is a super optional move, but another way that you can level things up is by melting these colors together or blending them together. And so what I like to do sometimes is I'll take a lighter color. So I'm eyeballing banana cream and peach cobbler for this move, but I could also do pumpkin. So something that would be a lighter color, but when I do a wash of them over all of this, it will help blend everything together. I do this with my faces as well. It's another great way to do something. Yeah, I'm gonna do peach cobbler. So the way to, sometimes if your faces are too one color, doing a wash over everything, you can actually like change the whole entire color scheme by just doing a wash over the whole thing. And that's what I'm doing here. So just a little watery mix and chuck it all over. And I'm doing it scrambly because he's a barnyard pig and he's wading around in muck all day long. So we don't have to belabor this. We just run it over everything and it will help merge everything together. So quick and easy. And once again, we need to dry all of that before moving on to the next move. So here I go. All right, so this is all dry now. I don't film that part because it's super loud and obnoxious. So the next thing I'm going to do when it comes to leveling up is I do this for almost all of the critters and characters, and sometimes I use colored pencil. You can use colored pencil for this as well. But for something like a dirty pig, and in the Little Women book, I do colored pencils more than this. But with my animals, I tend to use, this is just a soft pencil. So I'm going into the areas that I want to be dark and shady, and I'm just doing some kind of scribble scrabble. You can even scribble scrabble his eyebrows. Okay, and I'm also going to add some lightly over here. And I'm going to add it in here. This doesn't even have watercolor on it, so I'm just going to scribble that in there. Underneath his nose, there's going to be quite a lot of shading there. And there's going to be quite a lot of shading under his neck. Again, we've already discussed about that very important shadow. Okay, you can even scribble scrabble some of this here. He's a dirty barnyard pig, so you can add some scribble scrabbles there and there on the inside too. And where else? Let's see, we can add, remember their light source. This side is light, this side is dark. So you can quite literally add some scribble scrabble here. Usually along the bottom of the characters, cats, dog, people, it's usually shaded because if the sun is coming down, it's not ever going to penetrate way on the bottom. So that usually always gets a good scribble scrabble. Top of the legs. Same thing. It's always the same areas. You just go over them. So remember we did the light wash everywhere. Then we added the darker second layer in the same areas. And then we do darker again in the same areas. And now I'm doing scribbling again in the same areas. So you're just repeating that process. And now the big fancy trick, excuse me. Oh, I forgot inside of the nostrils. So every time you add more and more shading, you're just adding more depth. Even, yes, even to your cartoons. They deserve the best as well. Oh, so now I take my very dirty blending stump and I'm having a bit of a smoosh party. Okay, and this is really my secret saved weapon on making these animals really quite grungified, but over graphite and watercolor, I make a magical mix. I teach a lot of lessons, especially in my Celtic Collective Club that I run with my best friend, Lucy Bryden. We do a lot of graphite and watercolor. It's a really amazing way. And actually for those projects, we usually actually start with graphite and end with watercolor. But you can also do the reverse. And the reverse is how I'm teaching in all of these books, where you do the watercolor first and then you add the graphite on top. But you can go the other way as well. Whites of the eyes, again, no matter if you're doing a cartoon or a realistic person, are never really white. And sometimes, fun fact, I will actually add dirtiness inside of them just so that when I add a pop of highlight, it actually shows. That's another little secret hack. You can't have a sparkly eye if it's not dark to show a highlight. So you can make this side as grungy as you want. And there's nothing better than a super dirty blending stump. Now his mouth is getting lost, so we're gonna make sure that we go ahead and add a highlight, and that will bring it right back out. Spring to life. All right. So notice I'm using the side of my blending stump to smoosh this guy all around. Oh, sorry, I was off camera there. So I just taken this, and you can see how now the shadow is really like fadey, and it looks like a proper shadow. And it's all just done with my super dirty blending stump. Okay, so we have to still do the white. I'm just gonna be really lazy. I have this enormous Sharpie just sitting next to me on my table, so I'm gonna use it for the pupils. Okay. Awesome possum. And what's cool about the graphite too is that if it's too much, you can also just erase it out, right? Just erase it. You can also add some extraneous hairs here. I think I normally don't do this part in the pencil, but what is this random line here that I have? Maybe we can give him a couple so he's not so alone. This one I don't like. And I can erase it. Cool as that. All right, so now for my favorite part of all, which is the highlights. All right, so highlights are my favorite part. They're super satisfying. My two favorite weapons for adding highlights are this Copic Opaque White. It comes with the nail polish applicator. It takes a bit of getting used to because it does get quite drippy. So you need to be like hyper aware of what's happening on the end of this tip. Is it dripping? Is it going to drip? It's totally happened on many projects, but I still use it. You could also use it with a separate brush if you want to, if you want a little bit more control. My favorite at the moment pen for highlighting, I was using the Jelly Roll for a very long time, but I recently switched to this Uniball Signo U153. I always, though, regardless of which gel pen I'm using, make sure that I'm using a 1.0 millimeter nib, because anything smaller, they just get clogged like all the time, and it's super frustrating. For this little piggy guy, now remember, our light source was coming from the right, which means that is where all of our highlights are going to be centered. Now, I know already I want a bigger highlight than this gel pen is going to afford me, so I'm actually going to whip out my big guns first. Okay, so if the sun is beaming down on the barnyard, it is going to be hitting, and it's coming from the right, these areas here. So I'm going to use this to hit the right sides of those. Now, if I had done a good job and these areas are darker, then that should segue in nicely. To be honest, I think I could have added more dark around there. And I can still go back and do that if I like to. I can also do the top of the, I didn't even do that in the right direction. We can do the top of the ears. You can have some kind of here, and actually, and some up here. You can actually have your imagination really go crazy here and imagine, like, where would that light be hitting, and then what would you see? I also like to do a great big juicy highlight in the eyes, and this is why I like painting. Now there's a blob of paint that's moving its way down the bristles of this brush. So this is where I need to be careful. Oopsie, it just dropped. So you can't just do this willy-nilly. You do need to be really careful, pay careful attention to where those drops are coming. Okay, and I want one here, but I just tend to really paint with this. Okay, you can have some here. You could also put some on his clothes. Doesn't have to be limited to just his face. You could even have some on like the wrinkles of the clothes. Okay, we can also have some, here. You could have some here. The sun is beating down. I go a little with my white. You could even have some on the little toenails. Oh, I'm so sorry. I keep getting it out of shot because I get so into it. All right, and now is where I'm going to switch to my any area that I want small. So I think I'm going to switch to my pen, and then I'm just gonna color off on a piece of paper and make sure it's like flowing strongly first. Okay, and now when I do a little bit more of a thinner line, I'm gonna wrap it around the nose here, and you can blend it with your fingertip like I was just doing if you want to ease that in. And then it is cool to do a rim around like the nostrils, and that will make them also like really jump out quite a bit. It's pretty cool. So see, now you can see his mouth, when you zoom out, it like jumps forward all of a sudden. And he has quite a lot of dimension. Now you can still go back and watercolor if you missed anything. You can also go back and add more shading if you want. Look like my eyes should be darker here and here. And then last but not least, what we're going to do is we need to add a little ground for him. Everyone needs, otherwise they're just floating. So I like to add a little ground, and because he's in his little barnyard, I'm going to make his ground green. He's standing on a little part of the grass, right? You can even have some little grass poking up there on either side. Oh my God, but now he's standing somewhere. All right, so here's our little piggy pig. Love him. If you have a name, please, suggestions. I am all ears. And now I'm going to draw the winner. Let me, I'm going to go to my, here it is. I have a lot of channels. I can find the right one. All right, I'm picking the winner right now in real time.
Hi there, Rosie.
And I'm going to the comment section. I think I'm just gonna swipe and then I'm going to pick. So I'm gonna go swipe. All right, here we go. So here's the winner, E:9222. That was the winner. So E:922. Please let me know. I need you to email me so I can get you your prizes. You, my friend, are winning a signed copy of Wonky Woofers. And not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not 6, 7, 8, 9. You're getting 9 free professional watercolor brushes, care of Paulina Bright. She's the only one brushes that I use, and they're wonderful, and that's an insanely, this is worth about $300. If you love giveaways, I have giveaways every single month in my Facebook group. Come on and join it, where they reset every 30 days, and I pick winners on the 1st of every month, and you get to pick from prizes like one of my books, art supplies, pencil pouch, and I'm also giving away my Blackwing pencils. So come on and join my Facebook group if you haven't already. Just search Awesome Art School. It is free, and everyone can enter as many times as they want all month long. So thank you so much for playing with me, and thank you for your name suggestions, and thank you for your support in buying my books. And if you want to get really serious on your art making, I would say come on and join a club with me. I run 3 creative clubs over at awesomeartschool.com if you want to check it out. I will leave a link in the description, and I will see you next week with more watercolor tips. Thank you so much. Congratulations, E:. Woo! Bye.